Welcome to this episode of Cinema, My Child and Me. Today we're going to be talking about Martin Scorsese's Hugo, which I believe is his love letter to the movies. A young boy, Hugo, alone and living in Gare Montparnasse railway station in secret, is on a quest to find his purpose. As he forms a reluctant relationship with the old man who owns the toy store in the station and a chance friendship with his goddaughter Isabel, we discover more about how he came to be where he is and how he is going to accomplish his quest. Along Hugo's journey, we meet several other interesting characters whose lives are spent working at the station and outside it. The station inspector, a cafe owner, the flower girl, the bookshop owner, and the toy shop owner's wife all have pretty interesting roles to play in this story. The film deals with a child's discovery of cinema and why it holds so much importance for him. And it is full of delightful snippets from famous first films and other very lovely homages. It is a thoughtful adventure, and as you get drawn into Hugo's world, you will become a part of it. Hugo was released in 2011 in 3D. I fell in love the moment I watched it in the theatres. It was nominated for 11 Academy Awards, winning 5. It is based on Brian Selznick's book, The Invention of Hugo Cabret, which is also a fantastic collection of storyboard-type sketches and a simple but engaging story. The movie is available on Netflix and on YouTube for a small rental fee. Abhinav, please tell me some of your quick impressions about this film.
I'll pick up what you said. It is a love letter, one, as you rightly mentioned, to cinema, but also to wide-eyed children who dream and invent and believe in the power of magic. It is also a love letter to his own childhood. We have heard these stories about how Martin Scorsese, when he was growing up, used to spend a lot of time next to his window looking out at the world because he was not allowed to go outside due to an illness. This film throughout tells us how he probably saw the world as a film. That love story comes alive during this film. It is also a love letter to his own children who complained once that we can't watch any of the films that you make because Scorsese is quite famous having made all these gangster films. He decided to make a film which goes back to how he tells stories to his own children. Interestingly, I think if you look at this particular film, it stands almost at odds with the rest of the filmography of Scorsese. But if we look closely, we'll realize that Scorsese has sort of spent his entire life making films on two basic themes. One is that obviously the lives of gangsters and the humanness of their existence, and the other is that of a spiritual quest and what an individual goes through when they are going through these journeys. In both these scenarios, you sort of look at the central characters as being trapped between both the worlds, and that is where the parallel between Hugo and the rest of his filmography comes alive. While in most of the other films of Martin Scorsese, you can find characters trapped between two worlds trying to figure out which one would they prefer and which one would they end up in, and in the process probably get destroyed or redeemed. This is a character that is living literally in the walls of the railway station. This is also in a way Martin Scorsese's homage to Pinocchio, that of a wooden toy trying to struggle to become part of a real world, trying to become part of a functioning unit.
If I had to think about it, the first thing that struck me was how well-etched all the characters are. Not just the three primary characters of the old man who owns the toy shop, his goddaughter, and of course the titular character Hugo, but everybody else who has some or the other very interesting aspect of their personalities coming out in the story and contributing to the entirety of the story. I also liked how the entire movie has been presented to us as a machine, full of gears and clocks and a ticking sound that comes up every now and then. And the emphasis on the idea that there are no extra parts. Everybody is part of a machine where they have a role to fulfill, they have a purpose, and nobody's there just like that. I think it was very nicely told that nobody is purposeless. If you look hard enough, if you think about your existence and your relationships around you hard enough, you will understand what your role is. The final thing I thought was there's a small part where Scorsese focuses on how war changed the game for movies and filmmakers. The Great War, which is the World War One. He obviously has a very anti-war sentiment that he's pushing towards his audiences, saying war never brings happiness or prosperity. It is never the answer. Which is why when we are watching this movie, which is in the aftermath of the First World War, we see even places like the railway station where there is a lot of singing and dancing happening all the time, people congregating, people gathering, musicians playing songs, and people just getting up to celebrate life because they've seen so much difficulty and hardship and devastation and loss. You can go to any of our connecting platforms and talk to us there. You can leave us feedback on the podcast. We would love to hear from you to understand what it is that you like about our podcast and what it is that we can do better.
I'd like to at this point just say thank you to Rishi Kapoor and Irfan, two fantastic gentlemen who have given us reasons to cry, reasons to laugh, and reasons to enjoy life.
Have a great time watching Hugo. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Happy viewing.